man. Back at you real quick, man. On this Virginia Underground Railroad, Southern Underground Railroad, and the Midwest Underground Railroad. Where I left off at was Loudoun County, Virginia, the Underground Railroad system in that area. And one of the great ancestors, man, who put it down in that area with the network was Leonard Grimes. Leonard Grimes, man, he worked around the Loudoun County, Leesburg, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. DMV area, man. And between 1817 and 1861, Leonard Grimes helped escape families in that area. And he also helped 7 enslaved African ancestors on Route 7, escape on Route 7, and make it up north. October 1839, Leonard Grimes was caught freeing slaves and freeing ancestors from Virginia. So he was jailed and put in jail and fined $100. And he also had to serve 2 years, 1 to 2 year sentence in the Richmond Penitentiary. So look up Leonard Grimes, man. He's like one of the most important persons in the Underground Railroad out of Virginia, in this area, you know what I mean, of the South. And a real historical figure that's not really talked about. Also, moving on, the next figure you should be looking out for and researching is Nelson Grant. Nelson Grant was caught in 1846 helping free his wife out of slavery on the Underground Railroad. And this was after he tried to purchase her freedom out of slavery. He was caught. But case got thrown out because, you know, they had no legal well, they could have did what they wanted to do in that time period, if you know that time period. But, you know, blessings on the ancestors, that case was dropped. And, you know, his wife was freed and he was freed. Nelson Grant, go look up Nelson Grant. Moving right along to the deep south of the Underground Railroad, the most important one that's not talked about, which stretched from parts of Southern Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all the way to the Spanish colony of Florida. And this is where most of our ancestors ran to, besides the North, to get free, because you know, the Spanish colony gave them freedom once they got to Florida, and the native indigenous peoples who still control land in that area helped them avoid capture from the slave captures of the United States government and slave plantation owners. And the indigenous native people, you know, defended these Africans and these Gullah Africans who ran down that area. And so this is the most deepest part, because when they made it to Florida, they made it to free communities, independent communities, that Gullah Africans that already made it down there, and Black Seminoles who merged with the native indigenous peoples, who set up places like the Negro Fort, the first New African Republic state, which is Fort Mose, all the Black independent communities, you know, that set off the Suwannee River in Florida, man. Like, this area is home of independence, freedom, sovereignty, and, you know, stiff resistance. Because you must research the Gullah Wars, man. Because our ancestors been escaping from the upper South to the deeper South to that area for like 2 centuries. Yeah, like 2 centuries, man. And before the Civil War, they was, you know, running down the area. So many of our people don't know that the Underground Railroad been around before it actually got its name, because we had ancestors already from the 1500s who was escaping down to the South, that was brought to the South Carolina colony, and they was escaping for freedom down there. You know, people like Cato, Jimmy, and Denmark Vesey, and all those type of people from South Carolina. The Gullah Africans was trying to get to Florida, and they sparked rebellions and insurrections to get to that area, because they knew they can get to that area where they could live amongst their own and live in freedom, not have to worry about the terrorists of slavery. You see what I'm saying? And the terrorism of slavery. So this is the most important period, because this is the period that actually ended slavery. You see what I'm saying? And also, they don't teach this in school, and a lot of our people need to understand that all our ancestors did not want to integrate with white folks. You see what I'm saying? Our ancestors wanted to go back to their original habitats and their original culture and their original beliefs of what freedom, independence, and sovereignty was, which is living amongst their own culture. You see what I'm saying? You have one thinking mentality African that wanted freedom and segregation away from the white man, but then you had the other thinking ancestor in slavery who was indoctrinated by the white plantation owners to integrate them into their system and beliefs of the false meaning of freedom and independence. You see what I'm saying? Our struggle has always been sovereignty, land, independence. You see what I'm saying? So study the Gullah Wars, because this is what really ended slavery, the Gullah Wars. And once they got to Florida, they set up defense mechanisms on this underground railroad system to destroy slavery and to help other Africans free. Many rebellions took place down there, like the Stoner Rebellion, which I just said, these Congo Angolan Africans that became Gullah Africans, Black Seminoles, you know, put it down, man. And moving right along before I close this video out, man, last but not least, the Midwest Underground Railroad Network, which was, which was originated by, we know about Harriet Tubman, man, but I delete, how can I put it? I deem this warrior as the Midwest Harriet. Like, many people don't know nothing about this special lady right here, man. Her name is Priscilla Baltimore. They call her Mother Baltimore, man. And she created the Underground Railroad in the Midwest, which was Chicago, St. Louis, and also the Mississippi River and all that area, Mississippi River. And Priscilla Baltimore was a former slave from New Orleans, man, who bought her freedom and moved to St. Louis at a certain period. And she also bought freedom for other people that she was in her family also. Priscilla Baltimore, man, she worked on the steamships that traveled up and down the Mississippi River, so she knew that area well. So that gave her the advantage to help freeing slaves. She started working for the ferry service. Also, they gave her advantage to create the system because it operated between St. Louis and Illinois. So in the early 1820s, she led a whole group of 11 black families, man, from St. Louis across the Mississippi River into the bottom part of Illinois, on the banks and the rivers of Illinois to freedom, man, where they set up a freedom village, another independent Colombo. I like to use that term because, these are Colombo communities, man. That's how we were, Colombo Africans and Maroons and things of that nature. So we always set up independent communities wherever we went, all the way in Canada. Everywhere we went, we set up our own independent community. So she created that. And those villages over time would turn into what you know today as Brooklyn, Illinois, man. For all my Chicago people and all my people that live in Illinois, the New Africans that live in Illinois, research Priscilla Baltimore, man. She set up some historic things in y'all area, man. She was part of the Underground Railroad Network, Black August, man. Which formed the Underground Railroad over time. They built tunnels and everything under buildings in Brooklyn, Illinois, man, to hide our ancestors who escaped from across the river, the Mississippi River, into Illinois from St. Louis, Missouri, to get away from the slavery system of Missouri. So they got tunnels under the churches they founded, like the what is called the Brooklyn AME Church, one of the most historic churches in Illinois, man, around 1825, man. They started up community organizing, all sorts of things to free slaves, man. So shout out to Priscilla Baltimore and all the ancestors that worked on the Midwest Underground, man. I'm gonna be putting all this information on my IG, Haki Kweli Shakur. Hold on, let me repeat that. My IG is Haki_Kweli_Shakur. And also, I'm going to be posting some stuff on Facebook, pictures of these things that, from these areas, from the Florida Underground Railroad, Midwest, Virginia Underground Railroad. I'm going to be posting more information. But in the description boxes, on part 1 video and part 2, I'm going to be putting the information and the references and the links to this information I just presented to you. So y'all can go see this stuff for yourself. And also, man, before I shut this video off, man, shout out to all my Igbo family, comrades, friends, brothers and sisters, man, from Nigeria all the way to the United States of America here in Virginia, man, for y'all support. Continue watching my videos. I'm going to bring more and more information very soon on anything, pertaining to our African history that's not being taught in schools, man. But shout out to my Igbo family, man. Shout out to George Jackson University, Malcolm X Grassroots DMV area, and the Malcolm X Grassroots National. Check out my interview on George Jackson Radio about street organizations. And also, man, go to K Kente YouTube channel and check out our 2 shows we did in February. The new season of the K Kente show will be back in September, but go check out the 2 shows me and him did that was very powerful, man, on the Root series and other, important things about our struggles, man. Go check it out on his channel. That's about it, man. The Underground Railroad, baby. Got to get back to that, man. Telecommunications, communications, man. We got to go back underground, man, because can't keep showing our oppressor everything we do online, man. It's time to rebuild that network, man, and get back to communicating offline, man, organizing offline, man. We must start the beginning of governing our own communities and governing these new African communities across the United States, man. Setting up these new African districts, man. So let's get back into it, man. Underground Railroad, Black August. Shout out to George Jackson, man. Long live George Jackson and long live Jonathan Jackson, man. Long live Qatari Gardner and all the ancestors who put on the black bands in the new African liberation prison struggle. So I'm going to sign off right here. Haki Kweli Shakur, the seat of Gabriel Prosser. Rebuild. Free the land.